Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back on the Belly Up Fantasy Live Show with a great Tuesday night edition for you all, because we're going to be talking about the Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation Charity Belly Up Bowl Tournament. Yeah, that's all one sentence for you guys. But we have the mock draft for you today. It's a charity league that we are throwing. We're our second year in a row that we are doing a charity league. Last year was for St. Jude. This year for Alex Lemonade Stand Foundation to help raise money to help fight against childhood cancer. So that's what we're doing. The drafts are going on as we speak. We're going to put the link up for you as this show goes on, where you can sign up and join, because there are still several spots available for all of you, which brings me to our special guest of the night. He is one of the contestants in a draft that's just completed. He actually drafted in my league, which was League Olivia, because we are naming all the leagues after at least one childhood cancer hero to keep the awareness up and going. So, Rick, how are you tonight? Thank you for joining the show, and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and why you decided to join our league.
You bet, and thanks a lot for having me. This is one, I think it's important to not only have fun, but also to give back. And so whenever there's a chance to do a charitable league like this is my second year doing this particular league. So had a great time last year, did not win. So I'm coming back hard to come back and take that crown. But most important, just to be able to help. And so I really appreciated the chance to do so. So thanks for what you're doing, and the rest of the folks, that are participating, and more importantly, those running the league like yourself.
Yeah, like I said, love having you on. Glad you're here with the second year in a row with us. We're doing things a little bit differently than we did last year. This year it is a best ball format, so that's why I thought it would be good for us to come on and do the mock draft with everybody. Last year was more of a redraft, huge tournament set up in the playoffs. This year, a little more straight to the point, sticking to your luck during the draft, because it is partly lucky. It's partly strategy, partly luck, because we have guys dropping like flies and we're drafted in early August. Before we get into all that, though, I got to introduce Adam and Chris. How are you guys doing tonight?
Well, my NFL team is falling apart.
That's why we got the Colts.
I do it better than Adam's a Colts fan over here.
Yeah, you guys got some brutal news. Quentin Nelson goes down. He's got apparently the same injuries as Carson Wentz. Does he have the same timelines as Carson Wentz? As a result, when will Carson Wentz be back? 5 to 12 weeks. I mean, that's a huge time span that we're talking about here, and it affects a lot of things. And it will be coming up in shows to come. 2 weeks from now, we'll be back at 8:30. We'll be talking about that a little bit more. Before we get into tonight's draft, though, because I don't want tonight to go too long, but I do need to give a shout out to our sponsor of the night, which is Manscaped, as it always is, because summer's here, guys. But are you ready to unveil your beach bod? You're in luck if you're not, because our friends at Manscaped just launched their 4th generation performance package, which includes the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Complement your dad bod or six-pack with a trim from the leaders in male grooming. The sun is shining and calling your name, fellas, so join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY today. So again, like I said, this is a best ball superflex tight end premium mock draft. We do include defenses and kickers, so we'll talk about that a little bit. That way you get a little bit of everything in today's show for all of you out there who may play still with defense and kickers. I know that's a thing that's kind of dying out a little bit, but it's still a thing. I promise you, it's still out there. So we're going to follow along on the mock draft here to our for me, it's on my right looking at the screen here, but I'm sure it's on everyone else's left because, mirror image and it's all opposite and whatnot. So I'm going to get this thing started. But Adam, before you kick things off, when you went into this draft, was there anything in particular you had in mind that you wanted to attack?
No, I just wanted to kind of let the board fall to me and, just get the value wherever it was. I'm not going to make decisions about my draft before the draft starts. I'm going to, play the situation as it kind of unfolds.
Chris, was there anything you were looking at?
Yeah, so this is a newer type of format for me. So I was kind of looking at the different options that I have. Typically as me, Jeff, you want to go heavy running back early, but with this kind of setup, especially with the double quarterback option, you might be seeing quarterbacks fly off the board a little earlier than you anticipated. So maybe the guy you thought you had in your back pocket, maybe you don't have that in your back pocket. So that's kind of what I was thinking about going in here.
All right, well, while Chris's pick is up, Rick, talk about your pick of Patrick Mahomes at the 3rd spot. Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry went off at 1 and 2.
Yeah, I actually like to try to get at least one quarterback in the first, and I try to go 2 quarterbacks and 2 running backs in the first 4. Then I can start hammering away at the wide receivers and tight ends.
Yeah, I like that strategy. Again, this is super flex tight end premium. So when you're sitting there at the top 3, like Rick is, you know you have a while before you're going to get the draft again. So this first round is probably your only real chance to get the elite quarterback, unless you're the rest of sleeper, which is drafting like this is a normal quarterback league, apparently. Because after that, Dalvin Cook came off the board. Alvin Kamara came off the board. Chris, you took Ezekiel Elliott. Why did you take Ezekiel Elliott at pick 6 there?
I felt like while I was confident, talking about the quarterback need, when Patrick Mahomes went as early as he did, I kind of felt like now we're going to get to a tier where I might make a run at quarterback, but I'm not necessarily need to reach yet. I want to lock down that good back. And to me, Zeke's a breakout guy for a lot of ways. I think he's in shape. I think he's got opportunity to be impactful in all 3 phases of the game. And I think the offensive line is pretty damn good. So I expect that Zeke does well for me.
Ezekiel Elliott's one of my favorite guys this year because I think everyone's just discounting him because they're looking at Tony Pollard. For some reason, they think it's going to be his year to get heavily involved. He's not going to get heavily involved when you have a motivated, in shape, ready to go Ezekiel Elliott behind a healthy offensive line, behind a healthy Dak Prescott. We saw last year, even without Dak Prescott, that he was able to be a low-level RB1, granted, but a low-level RB1 on an offense that looked very dysfunctional at times with Andy Dalton. That's what we got to see with Ezekiel Elliott. I'm very big on him myself. Adam, you can talk about your pick, Travis Kelce, while I try to make my selection.
Yeah, tight end is one of those positions where it's very feast or famine, has been said on this show. There's 4 or 5 guys maybe that you can feel really good about week to week, and after that you really have to go quantity, especially in a best ball. So I just wanted the positional advantage. It sets me up to where I really only need to get one more tight end, whereas if I don't get one of these top guys, I would want to get at least somewhere between 3 or maybe 4, so that I have a high variance of getting a good guy. So it's just really allows for more picks to get someone else.
Now, before Adam picked, it was Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones all coming up. So a strong running back. I like your pick there with Kelce as a tight end premium league. I got the back-to-back, which I liked having the back-to-back in this situation. It allowed me to get an elite quarterback still, and I was able to get my top positional player. So I went with Lamar Jackson, who is my number 2 quarterback, over Kyler Murray, over Josh Allen. He has the weapons that he needs now to be able to get back to where he was throwing the football 2 years ago when he led the league in passing touchdowns. And I don't see why you'd bet against this guy going a 3rd year in a row, getting over 1,000 rushing yards. Stefan Diggs is actually my number 2 receiver behind Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill went off at Team 11. I hate you, Team 11, just before I got a chance to. This is PPR league. So I have Stefan Diggs a little bit ahead of Devontae Adams because I'm expecting regression out of Adams in the touchdown department. Aaron Rodgers is not going to throw 48 touchdowns again this season. If he stays at his career touchdown rate, which is still phenomenal, it puts him at about 33, 34 touchdowns on the year. That's a 14 touchdown decrease. Adams will have some of that. I'm going to go with Stefan Diggs, who I think could wind up being the number 1 targeted receiver for a 2nd year in a row, given that I don't really care about Emmanuel Sanders. I don't really care about Gabriel Davis. I know Josh Allen's going to throw him the ball come hell or high water. After that, Devontae Adams went, and then we get back to Adam, who goes with Josh Allen with that next pick.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said a lot of what I would have to say talking about Stefan Diggs. That's going to be a high passing volume offense, and I want a piece of that. Josh Allen, I am very happy to take as my QB3. I thought just with how much value was left on the board, just wait a little bit longer for quarterback, because definitely the run on running backs is going to continue, and I need to get value there. But the Josh Allen in the 2nd round is just too much to pass up in a super flex.
Yeah, running backs are flying off the board after you went Josh Allen, Nick Chubb, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, and then we get to Chris, who goes Dak Prescott over Kyler Murray. Explain yourself, sir.
Well, first of all, I got to promise MD Nation I'm not a Dallas Cowboys fan, although my draft picks show me otherwise. But I love this offense this year. You got a healthy offensive line. You got Dak returning on a record pace he was on last year, starting off the season. I expect that you need actually even better in a lot of ways because I think that he didn't have the touchdown production I kind of expected from him last year. So I'm really excited about this offense, obviously, and I went with the quarterback. I wanted it as my number 3 quarterback on my board. I have him higher than Josh Allen. I have him higher than Kyler Murray. So that's where I was trying to go with in that 3rd round or 2nd round, I should say.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. He was definitely on a record-breaking pace last year. It'll be interesting to see. You do have the save floor. Kyler's going to run quite a bit, but I like the interesting take there where you're going with that. Before we move on, I paused the draft there for a split second because I want to make sure everyone is aware. This is for the Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation charity Belly Up Bowl. All you have to do is go to bellyupfantasysports.com and you can hit the Belly Up Bowl tab. That'll take you to where you need to go. There's a sign-up form for you guys to go ahead and fill out. We will then be able to send you all the information to get you all signed up and good to go and donating to Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation for childhood cancer. So that's what we are doing this mock draft for. This is the exact draft that you will be doing when you participate. So come on and check it out. We're trying to help you guys win with the different strategies, different approaches that we have, which is why we're all spread out in this draft as well. Okay, so let's get back to it now. We have Rick. He made a pick while Chris was talking there. As soon as I can get this thing back up on the screen, here we go. All right, so Rick, you came back and you took Kyler Murray after Justin Jefferson and DeAndre Hopkins came off the board. So you started off with Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray. You actually made your 3rd pick in Darren Waller. So walk us through Murray and Darren Waller with your 2nd and 3rd round pick.
Okay, well, yeah, I actually thought Murray might be competing for the number 1 quarterback in the league this year. So getting a chance to get what is number 1 and possibly 1A or 1AB, I thought that was a good gamble to take. Waller coming to me, that might have been a stretch, and I'll probably pay for it when it comes time to searching for running backs. But I wasn't expecting to be able to get one of the top 3 tight ends, so I made the pick.
Yes.
Running backs is going to be tough, but I think there'll be enough for me to be able to at least get RB1 or RB12 in my next pick.
Yeah, and you know what? This could be a situation where you decide, you know what, because of where I drafted at, because of the way the value is falling, that you could need to zag everybody else's zig. I do that all the time. Where you're just trying to find the extra value, and you decide, you know what, remember, this is best ball. So this is where you take your shots, you go for the upside, you worry about what your lineup's going to be later on, but those are the things you have to kind of take into consideration, especially when playing in big tournaments. Like, this is a huge tournament we're talking about. You're playing in your league, you're trying to win your league, but you're also playing against what will hopefully be, by the time we're done with it, 17 other leagues as well to get that top prize. So you have to take your chances there. I like that. You get Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, definitely 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks, I think, almost guaranteed, barring injury this year between those 2. And then you have Darren Waller, who would be my number 2 tight end in a tight end premium league. So you're capitalizing on where this league is set up, being a super flex, being tight end premium. Between Kyler Murray and your Darren Waller pick, Joe Mixon, A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, George Kittle came off the board. Then after that, DK Metcalf, Antonio Gibson, and then we get the Chris's pick at Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, we know how much of a fan of Clyde Edwards-Helaire you are.
Yeah, we had a big thing on this our last show.
Yes.
How much I am not a fan. That is sarcasm, in case anybody couldn't detect that.
Yes, we call it a hater. Anyway, so yeah, I think that when it comes to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, for me, I expect him to be increasingly used as in the running game. I think the offensive line is definitely upgraded, and I also think I expect him to be a little bit more involved in the passing game. The Chiefs did really basically nothing to upgrade that second, receiver position. They have to do Sammy Watkins. I'm not a huge Hardman fan, so I think that you're going to see this offense kind of be featured around Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I'm excited.
Adam, go ahead and talk about your pick.
Yeah, so I went after another controversial running back in Josh Jacobs. He's someone who's been falling on a lot of people's boards because they added another running back and because they decimated their offensive line and Gruden's all over the place, and just so much going on with the Raiders offense, which I agree. But Jacobs is a really good running back. He's still young. I don't really see any signs of decline. I think he's talented, and I just counted it out to get him at RB 17. I mean, we can be, he's not going to get targets because of Drake, and he's, there's going to be a little drop in efficiency because of the offensive line stuff. That can all be true. I think the offensive line stuff for Jacobs himself was a little overblown because at least Jackson was a better pass blocker than he was a run blocker anyways. But with Jacobs, to get him at RB 17, that's perfectly fine for me. He's going to fall, but not that much.
Okay.
I just want to thank Adam for bringing that point up about the Raiders' offensive line, because people seem to forget Jacobs only averaged 3.9 yards per carry last year. So this offensive line wasn't dominant. So I don't love the draft picks at all, and I don't love what necessarily the move, what they're moving towards. But I have to go on the fact that really what they had last year wasn't that impressive.
Loving Team 11 on the auto draft as they go Michael Thomas right after I made my couple of picks. That was phenomenal. Thank you for getting him off the board for us. Yeah, so after Adam went Josh Jacobs, Allen Robinson came off the board. Team 11 all in on the wide receivers. They went Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson. This is PPR. This is best ball, so they're strong there. I came up, again, back-to-back here, capping off, got the 12th pick. Came back with Terry McLaurin and Chris Carson. I like the balance I'm developing here, going with two guys that I think are going to be really highly productive, have a really good opportunity to outplay their ADP this season in particular. I especially like being able to pair up Terry McLaurin to Stefan Diggs, two big game type of guys as well when we're talking about this. Again, McLaurin, everyone's excited about McLaurin because of what he was able to do with just subpar quarterback, subpar offensive play calling. Now, the subpar offensive play calling, unfortunately, doesn't go away because we still have to deal with Scott Turner, but we know Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to give him opportunities down the field over and over and over again. That's the one thing that Terry McLaurin really hasn't had, is that chance to be more of a big play guy, which is really his skill set. That was his main skill set coming out of Ohio State. He's developed greatly in every other facet of his game, unexpectedly to some degree, but he can get back to being that big play guy that he was in college. And then Chris Carson, I'm a huge fan of this year. You're talking about a guy that I do believe has top 12 potential. The financial commitment they make to him this year, I think, solidifies the usage in his favor. Yes, there's been some rhetoric about Pete Carroll wanting to run the ball more. We'll see how much that comes to fruition with Shane Waldron, who the offensive coordinator was, a pass game offensive coordinator for the Rams. I don't know how much more he wants to run than they already do, but we know he'll be involved, and we know he catches the ball, so he's one of the better all-around backs out there. After that, like I said, Michael Thomas, Amari Cooper for Adam. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, he's the top target for Dak Prescott, at least for now. CeeDee Lamb seems to be really coming for him, but he's not there yet. Super consistent even without Dak last year. I believe in PPR, he didn't have a single game under 10. If he did, it was 1 or 2. Hey, that's the consistency to, at least have one guy that's stably in my starting lineup so I can, take some riskier shots at the position later is great. And there is some upside there because he, didn't have Dak all of last season. So it's kind of hard to say how Amari Cooper is going to fare with a full season of Dak playing, potentially at that level. So Chris, I know you and I are both on the same page. I hope Dak really plays well.
Yeah, I think that he's going to be. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, I think he showed that he was coming back last year. I mean, he played through being hurt last year and was still very productive, despite the subpar play like Dan kind of talked about last year from that offense in general. And I think that you add a healthy Dak Prescott, you have the weapons that you have in place. You can't double Amari Cooper, and this guy's a great route runner, similar to Stefan Diggs, where he's kind of Josh Allen's go-to guy. Amari Cooper is that go-to guy. CeeDee Lamb is a more explosive player, but Amari Cooper is no slouch out there. And he's been borderline dominant and was a receiver one, I think, year in, year out since he's got to Dallas. He still gets a bum rap from the Oakland days, and I think that people are kind of down on him as a result. But I think he gets forgotten about 9 out of 10 times, and he shouldn't.
Well, the other thing I want to say too, Amari Cooper, he should be healthy. They've been raving about how his rehab's been going. The strength coach has been very happy about his progress, where he's at as far as his injury coming back off the surgery. Everyone expects him to be 100% come week 1 and has been raving about that. So it makes me feel good because with Amari Cooper, you always have those lower extremity injuries that you kind of have to worry about. It's good that everyone seems to be on the same page that he is okay in his development. After that, Team 9 goes Mike Evans. Team 8 goes Julio Jones. Team 7, the all running back team so far, where they have Saquon, Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, and followed that up with Miles Sanders, almost being rivaled by Chris, who goes another running back, David Montgomery. Chris, why'd you go David Montgomery in the 4th round here?
I think it's excellent value. I mean, while I'm down on David Montgomery in some senses because I'm not thrilled that Nagy's taking it back over play calling, I do think that he showed basically he's the best back in that backfield. Tariq Cohen's having some issues coming back from his injury from last year. They did add Damian Williams, coming vulture some touches, but overall, Montgomery is the guy. And I think when Fields takes over, this offensive will kind of jump off with it. And I like his second half aspect of him kind of being a go-to guy in my roster. And then I also like the fact that he's involved heavily in the passing game. So without Tariq Cohen basically stealing those opportunities, this guy had 57 catches last year. I expect that to kind of be around the same range, and he's able to be effective.
Yeah, I mean,
I was hoping that he'd make it back to me because he was the closest to an RB1. And so as a result, I had to really take a reach on Myles Gaskin, who is going to get a lot of volume, but is definitely not at the level of David Montgomery. So I was a little disappointed when Chris grabbed him.
Yeah, it's that toying notion you have going on because you have Matt Nagy who's constantly talking up David Montgomery's going to get 20 carries a game. Now, that's not actually going to come to fruition because if he gets 20 carries a game, he's on Derrick Henry's level where he's getting over 300. He's not going to get over 300 carries this year. But it's good to know they at least want to utilize him. And it's inevitable that Justin Fields takes over, which will also benefit David Montgomery's efficiency too. After that, Travis Etienne came off the board. Darrell Henderson came off the board. Rick, talk about your Myles Gaskin pick a little bit. What specifically about Myles Gaskin in his volume appeals to you in this situation?
Well, while they do have a couple of other running backs like Salvan Ahmed, and they did bring in, the guy, drawing the blank on him, but
Malcolm Brown.
I think, Malcolm Brown, got it. I think that Gaskins is going to carry the load. I think that offense is on the move up. They've made some steps to improve the line. I think that it's of what was on the board, and as you can see, I went to CeeDee Lamb after that. The running back supply is going to be pretty bare at this point.
Yeah, it is, and I like Myles Gaskin there. Again, you're taking a guy who maybe doesn't have the same skill set as some of these elite guys, but should get a lot of passing volume in the PPR league, which should keep him at least competitive with other RB1s out there. But you went strong at quarterback. You went strong at tight end. So it's okay to take guys like this at running back where it's not a zero running back strategy, but you're getting guys who are going to be able to keep competitive based on the scoring format. Chris Godwin comes off the board after that. Kyle Pitts comes off the board after that. That's way too high for Kyle Pitts. That's for another show, though, because I'll get into a whole diatribe about that. Cooper Kupp, Russell Wilson, and then we come back to CeeDee Lamb. I like the CeeDee Lamb pairing a lot there because what you have on your hands is a guy who has the skill set of a wide receiver one, and Amari Cooper, who does tend to get banged up here and there. If he was to miss any time, sky's the limit for CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. That's what you were thinking, right, Rick?
Oh, yeah. I thought that I think Cooper is going to do well because, this is his, he's playing for a contract. I think he also mentioned, along with that, he's healing up, that he also lost some weight. So I think he's going to have a big year. But I just, everything I've seen in the practices, CeeDee Lamb is just tearing it up right now. So I think that, he may jump into the top tier of wide receivers.
Yeah, I feel like he's just a stud in the making. So then after that went Mark Andrews, DJ Moore, and then Chris comes back because he doesn't believe in wide receivers at all and goes with Chase Edmonds in the 5th round pick. Chris, explain your Chase Edmonds pick there.
Well, first of all, I'm a big Chase Edmonds fan going into this year. I know a lot of people are worried about James Conner. I'm not. James Conner had the opportunity to be the man in Pittsburgh the last 2-3 years, and Benny Snell took his job. So I do think Chase Edmonds is a better player. I think that he was highly effective in the passing game last year. I don't think the addition at receiver actually hurts him. I think it helps him in some senses because they're actually able to move the ball more consistently. So I'm excited about Chase Edmonds, and I'm going with what I think is the best players on the board right now. There's a lot of different receivers that I like, but I kind of value them very similarly. Where at running back, I just it's kind of getting to the end where guys are worth just reaching trying to find somebody.
And Chris was like, I have them all. I have them all. No, look, I like
Evan.
Evan.
Start 4 or 5 of them, so I mean, why not?
Yeah, no, it's valid. You can because you have we have 2 flexes along with the super flex. So you can start 4 running backs. I would think you'd want to start 2 quarterbacks in that super flex spot, but you could start up to 5 potentially. I do like him quite a bit. I think people are making too much of James Conner being the next Kenyon Drake. They didn't pay him that way. He's not that explosive. And they keep saying Chase Edmonds will get his opportunity to potentially be the RB1. So then team 7 goes Robert Woods. Team 8 goes Jamar Chase. Team 9 goes Adam Thielen. So we saw a run at receiver. And then Adam, I'm not going to distract you too much because you're on the board trying to make your next pick. But he goes Justin Herbert. You are going to have to explain yourself, sir, because you have 2 people who do not believe in Justin Herbert on this show, presently speaking. So explain why you go Justin Herbert there over a lot of other people, I guess, after you make this pick. Or do you have it yet?
I just made it. All right.
Okay.
Justin Herbert, I was excited when he got past Chris. I know that you guys aren't big on him, but I just think at this point, the value's starting to get there. I could see it being a bit questionable whether you'd have Rodgers, Brady, or him. Brady's a really good one. That's where I went in my own draft in our Bestball league was with Brady instead. But Herbert's a really good young player. I think kind of what you guys were talking about earlier, it's a tournament. I'm going after upside. Brady's 40-ish touchdowns, 10 picks is already factored in. Herbert, I'm just going to chase the upside. I don't know that, if he was a QB1 as a rookie, what could he be? He might fall flat on his face. I don't know. I'm just going to make an aggressive pick and hope that, this is we're not talking Baker Mayfield's second year. We're talking, like Andrew Luck's.
Look, here's what I'll give you. The volume will be there. They're going to throw the ball a ton. They bring in Joe Lombardi. But I think a coaching change in his second year of a quarterback matters. I think the fact that teams started to figure out that once you start to take Keenan Allen away, he wasn't really reading the rest of the field all that well. And you saw the dip in his production towards the latter half of the season on top of it. So I think all that kind of gets factored in. That's why I have Justin Herbert actually ranked as my QB 14. I'm expecting a little bit of a sophomore slump. I don't have him falling on his face like Baker Mayfield did, because again, the volume will just be there and there'll still be a pass first team. But I do expect a little bit of a sophomore slump out of Justin Herbert. That's why I just wanted you to explain yourself. That's all. After that, TJ Hawkinson comes off the board, one of my favorite tight ends. So team 11 going all in on the PPR. And then got to me my back-to-back picks. The fact that Tyler Lockett falls to me here in the 5th round, I'm giddy over that. I know people just hate Tyler Lockett because of the inconsistencies that he had. He still had 100 catches. And when you're talking about a best ball league, a guy who can just explode for games, who is better? Who is better than a Tyler Lockett in a best ball league in the 5th round? A guy who's going to be, if he's not the most targeted receiver on that team, he's the second most targeted on a passing attack that features really 2 guys heavily. So that's where I'm big on these guys myself. That's why I love Tyler Lockett. He had 100 receptions last year. He gets another big contract. They are planning on featuring him again. Then I brought it up. I get Jalen Hurts as my second quarterback to Lamar Jackson. I love that. With this being best ball, I have 2 rushing quarterbacks of that nature. Jalen Hurts is actually my QB7 just because I think he's going to be 3rd behind Lamar Jackson, behind Kyler Murray when it comes to rushing yards for the quarterback position. I'm just going off of that basically. So after that, we had Kareem Hunt, Deontay Johnson for Adam. So Adam, talk about Deontay Johnson at that pick.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are going with just grab the last receiver of the Steelers receivers. And to an extent, I would agree with that. But for me, I'm avoiding Claypool. And I'm going in PPR, I'll touch Juju. Otherwise, I don't want him. Standard, I would not touch Juju. But I like Deontay. I think they're starting to build up a pretty good chemistry. He played really well for me last season in the couple leagues that I rostered him, and I'm ready to dip back into it. I think in the 6th round, value is more than fine for my liking.
What do you think, Chris?
Well, I want to curse both you and Adam for taking the receivers that I was expecting to have fall to me, at least one of those guys. I love Tyler Lockett, and I also love Deontay Johnson. I think Deontay Johnson has a lot of similar skill sets to Stefan Diggs, and I expect him to kind of make this jump this year in Pittsburgh's offense. I think we're going to talk a little bit coming up about some of our sleepers on some of our shows, but just to give you a little teaser, I think Ben Roethlisberger has been forgotten about. And I think that Deontay Johnson's going to is number one receiver clearly in that offense. I don't think it's even debate. Juju had his day. He got a 1-year, $8 million deal. Claypool, I think, is upcoming, and I love him. But Deontay Johnson is the Antonio Brown, is that Stefan Diggs type, and I expect him to be very good, especially in PPR.
Yeah, I tend to agree. After that, Javonte Williams off the board. Kenny Galladay, who might be dealing with a hamstring injury, comes off the board there. We're going to have to find out more about that. Devonta Smith for Team 7, and then it goes back to Chris, who goes Aaron Rodgers for his second quarterback to pair up with Dak Prescott.
Yeah, with the receivers off the board that I was kind of looking at, and I said, want to make sure I lock down that second quarterback, and I think people are expecting Aaron Rodgers to kind of have regression because he's supposed to. I don't believe in that, and I don't subscribe to that this year. I think Devontae Adams isn't going to get any slower. I think he's still going to get open. I think that Aaron Rodgers, from everything I hear, even without having any kind of OTA type of action, has been dominant in camp and has been razor sharp, throwing no look passes. So I expect Aaron Rodgers to be a spectacular quarterback this year because I think he has something to prove. I'll never bet against Aaron Rodgers because he has something to prove, and I think last year was just a taste of what's to come.
So you expect him to repeat his career highs, especially 48 touchdowns, which he never even sniffed close to before?
So I do it in a lot of ways because I look at him as his career kind of where he is as a healthier Peyton Manning. We saw Peyton Manning have that second resurgence in Denver and have that 50-touchdown season, and a lot of that was because he had good players around him and he knew to kind of look for his one-on-one. Aaron Rodgers knows his offense. He showed that last year. He's got enough weapons to kind of make it go. And I think with his, he's going to have an axe to grind, so to speak, for Green Bay. He's going to want them to miss him. And I think that when you look at this guy who's a motivated quarterback, who's still a fantastic athlete, and should be healthy most of the season this year, I expect him to be not only just what he did last year, maybe even improve.
So that is called a bold take right there. There's no way he repeats 48 touchdowns. James Robinson, Odell Beckham come off the board after that. We get back to Rick, who gets Mike Davis, which really that's nice value for a guy staring down the barrel of a ton of volume.
Yeah, and also, he's a pretty strong RB2. Now, he won't do what he did in Carolina, although even if you look at what happened in Carolina, he kind of tailed off. So there are some questions whether he's going to be able to carry a heavy load, but he's definitely going to be the RB1 there. He'll get some work, mostly a passing team, so maybe that takes a little bit of the pressure off of him as the RB1 there. Then I saw Higgins. I was really hoping I was going to get him. I like Claypool, though, especially in a best ball type situation. I think he's going to be the long guy on the team. And so, I think he'll be able to get some points. I'm actually pretty happy with the way the draft has been rolling out for me right now. Yeah,
I kind of like your team, too. You got your core. Now you're taking your very good selected shots at different things that you need to target. We're not going to get top running backs, but you get guys who are going to catch the ball. Mike Davis, Myles Gaskin, they're going to catch the ball quite a bit, so you'll be able to stay competitive there. Didn't get necessarily the top receivers because you got the 2 top quarterbacks and a top tight end, but you get 2 guys who any given day can win you an entire week, and that's what best ball is all about. So I like where you're going with that lineup. Just in between those picks, keep everybody up to date. Brandon, after Mike Davis went Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, which you talked about. Yeah, losing out to T. Higgins, that would have been nice value there. DJ Chark came back, and then Cortland Sutton. After that went Leonard Fournette, which that's in Team 4. That's insanely high in the best ball league to go Leonard Fournette, the 7th round pick. That's just dumb beyond belief. Noah Fant at Team 5, and then I'll put the clock back on for Chris. While he's making his pick, I want to put this out there again. This is for the Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation Charity Bowl for Belly Up. This is our second annual Charity Bowl. All you got to do to sign up is go to bellyupfantasysports.com. You'll see the Belly Up Bowl tab there. Fill out the form. We'll be able to send you all the information. It's a big-time tournament with prizes, so all you got to do is sign up today. We have plenty of spots open. We have drafts going on now. It's best ball, so you don't have to worry about maintaining your league throughout the year or anything like that. All you gotta do is show up and draft and have some fun. The guys have really been having a lot of fun in the chats, and it's been a great time getting to know everybody as well. Okay, so while I was talking about that, Chris, you had your pick. You came back with, if I can pull it up here, a third quarterback. Chris is going 0 receiver for an entire best ball draft. He comes back with a third quarterback in Tom Brady. Explain yourself, sir.
Yeah, so when it comes, all excited about Aaron Rodgers, I'm equally excited about Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady is the second year in the offense.
Give me all the 40-year-old quarterbacks. Give me them all.
I mean, right now, yeah. With the offenses, the way they are able to move the ball, and the passing game as effective as it has been, and the weapons they have in place, Tom Brady's going to have 3 borderline Pro Bowl, borderline Hall of Fame receivers to throw the ball to. Antonio Brown is definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. Mike Evans is, I think, on his way to being in the Hall of Fame. And Chris Godwin might not finish his career in Tampa Bay, but he'll at least be a guy that gets actually some votes to maybe make it. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But he's going to be a hell of a player over his career. So you have those kind of weapons. You have a tight ends going in the Hall of Fame in Gronkowski. You have O.J. Howard. You have guys, Kevin Bate backing him up. You added Giovanni Bernard. I think Tom Brady is set up to have one of those historic seasons. And I talk about a bold take. I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay tries to go undefeated this year. I think that's how Tom Brady wants to go out, and I think that's what he's trying to do. And I think this is where he's going to try to go balls to the wall in a sense this year and try to be this team's going to be dominant. I think this offense is going to be dominant.
I love that because what would be more of the ultimate shtick than, hey, guess what, Belichick? I went undefeated and won a Super Bowl. That would be the ultimate. Not going to happen, but I like where your head's at. I do like Tom Brady a lot this year, too. He is in my top 10 quarterbacks, but really, I'm curious to see what you're going to do at wide receiver the rest of the way. After that, Juju Smith-Schuster comes off the board, Dallas Goedert, Melvin Gordon, and then we get to Adam, who takes – I hate you, Adam. You sniped me because you took one of my favorite best ball running backs there at the 7th round in Raheem Mostert. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to be someone who I want in every week, and he's someone who, for that reason, in your redraft leagues might not be a prime target. But in best ball, I'm thrilled to take the highs of Raheem Mostert throughout the season, and the downs don't hurt me. I'll have someone else hopefully to fill in for those times. But yeah, the highs, I'm very happy to go ahead and take in the 7th round.
Yeah, I hate you just because I'm going to take his handcuffs when he eventually gets hurt. At least I'll still get the points there.
That's what I was hoping to do.
So after that, Ronald Jones came off the board. I don't know why these 2 Tampa Bay running backs came off the board in the 7th round. It's completely insane to think that any one of these guys can be trusted, especially not there. I know it's best ball, so you don't have to necessarily pick out when they're going to do well, but I mean, I took Ronald Jones, Rick, I believe, in our league, but it was like the 10th round by the time I took him. It was somewhere in that territory. So a little high there, a little surprising. I came back, went running back to back because I only had Chris Carson to this point so far. Remember, take Michael Carter. I'm big on Michael Carter this year. I love him in the, Shanahan-esque system with the New York Jets. The biggest thing about Michael Carter isn't even Michael Carter himself. And I'll get to that in a minute. But it's the offensive line. The Jets' offensive line, people don't realize, is going to be very, very good this year. You have your 2 rookies, your 2 young studs, 1 rookie in Tucker. Then you also add Morgan Moses. That's going to be a very good offensive line with a very good offensive scheme. Michael Carter, love him. He's going to be the main pass catcher. Trey Sermon, I'm just waiting until Raheem Mostert gets hurt, which is inevitable, and he'll be in a great system and a great situation as well. After that, Team 11 goes Trevor Lawrence, gets their first quarterback in the 8th round. Not a lot of quarterbacks coming off in this mock draft. It's a little bit weird being a super flex. I don't know what Sleeper's doing here, but Adam comes back with Jerry Jeudy, who's a very interesting wide receiver to me. So, Adam, this is best ball. So you're trying to shoot for the stars. You think that's going to happen given whoever the quarterback is in Denver?
I mean, first of all, I'm praying it's Bridgewater with this pick. Yeah, I mean, Bridgewater's gotten it to his guys. This is, we've got some PPR going, and I think he's one of the best young route runners in the league. He was my wide receiver 2 coming out of his draft class. There's just so much to like about Jeudy. The hands thing just doesn't bother me at all. I think he'll figure it out. That's not something that I saw, at least to that extent, coming out, and I think some of it's overblown. Drew Locke is not. He's barely an NFL quarterback to me, to be frank. I don't see anything in him really outside of a pretty strong arm. So I'm not too concerned about, one, him posing a threat to Bridgewater, or two, what happened last year with Jeudy. But Bridgewater's not a great quarterback. But at the end of the day, in that division with my team's already betting on the Chargers having a good offense. We know that the Chiefs are going to have a good offense. Whether they want to or not, the Broncos are going to have to throw the ball at some point. And when they do, I think 9 times out of 10, it's going to be to Jeudy.
I think if Teddy Bridgewater plays especially, that would be a great uptick for Jerry Jeudy, because that's going to be the area of the field in which he's going to target most of the time. Judy's a stud. He's one of the best route runners out there. I'm not worried about him catching balls either. He's a stud. I like to pick. Team 9 goes with Mike Gesicki. Team 8, Jalen Waddle. And then Team 7, James Conner. Chris finally takes his first receiver off the board and goes with the Antonio Brown, Tom Brady stack. Talk about that at the 8th round, Chris.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have underestimated Antonio Brown's production at the end of the last year. And I think that people are kind of forgetting that this guy's one of the top receivers in the game. He might not be nearly as explosive as he was, but he still runs great routes. He gets open consistently, and Tom Brady trusts him. Those things are all very important to me. And Antonio Brown basically, to me, took over as that true slot guy for Tampa Bay last year, and was moved around a lot of the field. And he played outside, played inside. But he was definitely the guy that they focused on getting the ball, especially in the quick little routes. So I love him for PPR purposes. I needed to make sure I added a receiver soon. So I think this guy has a good floor and maybe have some upside.
You added a receiver like 3 rounds ago, but you did get a decent one finally. Kenyon Drake, Team 5.
We'll see how through the season.
Robbie Anderson, Team 4. And then we get back to Rick taking Damian Harris. I love the value there, the 8th round, Rick.
Yeah, he's going to get use, and he looked good last year. Again, at this point, you're just trying to find some sort of upside. So he was an upside pick. Actually, when I looked at it, I should have taken the wide receiver first and hoped that he was swung around, because I was really looking at both Debo and LaVisca, but I took Fuller. Fuller is probably another one of those upside. He's got the 1-game suspension, so people have been shying away from him, but when he's on the field, he's going to stretch the field, and so I'm looking again for guys that are going to be scoring some points for me.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to hit home runs. I like actually the Will Fuller Claypool combination there, because it's like one of those guys should have a big week for you. I believe Will Fuller, when he's on the field, is going to be the number 1 receiver for the Miami Dolphins. I think you're going to get targets that will go along with it. Damian Harris, he's just a conundrum. Do the Patriots actually let this man just be? Do they let him be the running back, or do they have to plug in, Ramondre Stevenson? Do they have to plug in James White? Do they have to plug? I'm expecting him to get cut, but do they have to plug in a Sony Michel just because he's on the roster for now? That remains to be seen. But they did go to him quite a bit at the end of last season. He did have a nice run. I don't know if he's going to get the receptions, but he is a guy who has some upside. And if they stick with Cam Newton, they're going to go 2 tight end set. It's going to be a heavy run team. So there is the upside there. Like you talked about, Debo Samuel went next, Joe Burrow, Laviska Shenault, Brandon Cooks. We get back to your pick with Will Fuller, and then David Johnson comes off the board, Jarvis Landry, and then we get back to Chris, finally realizing he needs receivers, and follows it up with Elijah Moore, which I kind of like there in the 9th round.
Yeah, I'm going for the upside. I don't expect this guy to be necessarily productive to start the season, but I think by far he's one of the more talented receivers in the Jets receiving core. I love Zach Wilson as a quarterback prospect, and I think that when you have a guy that likes to throw the ball and you have a slot receiver who likes to gets open and explosive, that's a good marriage in PPR. So I'm looking for the upside as we move forward. Like I said, in the first couple of weeks, I'm not expecting the big games, but as the season ends, I think that as I wrap it up, this playoff victory, I'll have Elijah Moore to kind of thank.
I don't know if there's been a player this training camp has gotten more hype than Elijah Moore has every single day. Now, I don't know if it's part of the Jets and they just haven't had any hope in a really long time or what the case may be, but they are hyping him up every single day to start. But he is now getting reps exclusively with the first team. So there's reason to believe that he is going to be one of the 3 starting wide receivers, especially with Denzel Mims going the opposite direction. Apparently, he's with the third stringers now. So we might actually see Elijah Moore, Jamison Crowder, and Corey Davis on the field at the same time, or a Keelan Cole kind of getting mixed in there. That might be the top 4 receivers the Jets are going with. If that's the case, Elijah Moore is the big play threat in that scenario. I do like it quite a bit for a best ball league there. Team 7 follows it up with Marquise Brown, who actually just got injured. He's going to miss some precious time. Rashad Bateman's going to be getting a lot of his reps. So that'll be interesting to kind of see. Plus, I just don't like Baltimore wide receivers. I don't think any of them have a ton of upside. He's the one guy you're thinking best ball, hit or miss. But again, I'm not going to trust any of the volume really heading out of that team. Team 8 goes Rob Gronkowski after getting Dallas Goedert. I'm out on Gronk this year because I think it is going to be such a heavy influx for the 3 wide receivers. That's going to take away from Gronk's ability to really demand targets. And OJ Howard being back healthy is going to play a big role in that too, where he's not going to go away. He's going to be on the field. Adam, you finally make your pick because I was delaying for you. Matthew Stafford goes up, and then we have Adam here going with Gus Edwards.
Yeah, there were 3 guys I was kind of in between, so it was taking me a little longer. But Gus Edwards, I think at worst he's someone that's going to be in a run-heavy offense and will have a lot of goal line opportunities. He's almost 240 pounds and has still been an efficient back. Has been above 5 yards per carry every single season. Talented, consistent back, but also someone who, if they use him on the goal line, which, with Ingram now gone, could be the case a little more often. Last season that you saw his touchdowns rise a little bit. I think he's going to take over that Mark Ingram role. Now with Dobbins, that's only going to do so well, but all he has to do is pair in for Mostert's bad weeks, and I feel pretty confident he can do that.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have a safe floor. We know he's going to get 8 to 12 carries any given week, may get a touchdown, but just the 0 in the passing game part is where, I don't know, Adam. I don't know if I like that pick too much in that spot there, but we'll get back to it at the end of the draft when we start grading everybody's out. Ryan Tannehill goes in between, and then I get the back-to-back. I go with my tight end sleeper of the year, mark it down, top 7 guy, Tyler Higbee for the Rams with Matthew Stafford, an improved offense in general for the Rams. No Gerald Everett. I love Tyler Higbee this season. Big on him, especially in these tight end premium leagues where he's going to be looking at quite a bit of volume, I believe, as well. And then I back that up with Zach Moss, because we're getting to that area where the running backs are about to drop off. Zach Moss, I do believe, will be the RB1 for Buffalo, even though he will be in a split there with Devin Singletary. However, the difference between a Zach Moss and a Devin Singletary is that the Buffalo Bills clearly trust or want to trust Zach Moss in the pass game a little bit more. So I'm going to take that upside in a full-point PPR league. After that, Logan Thomas, Nyheim Hines for Adam, taking his one Colts guy. Go ahead.
Yeah, funnily enough, I was thinking before that I wanted to pair Edwards and Hines together. So it was funny to get Hines after you bashed on Edwards a little bit for not being a pass-catching guy. So we'll get someone who is a pure pass-catching guy. But in all seriousness, this pick could go either way, depending on the severity of the Wentz injury. I'm not super confident in Eason being great for Hines for very long, just because Eason doesn't have great touch, or at least he didn't in college. Maybe somehow he's developed that over the past year, but I'm not holding my breath for it. So that, that's not something I should be holding my breath for Wentz to do. But, here, this is where we are. I think Hines is a great talent. Mac coming back, it doesn't worry me for Hines, really. I think that if he's going to cut into anyone, it's going to be the more carry-dependent guys. I really barely think he hurts Taylor, but kiss Wilkins goodbye, I guess. Hines in a full-point PPR league, I'll take my chances.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's actually kind of interesting. The worse that offensive line gets, the more Nyheim Hines might have to play because they might have to go back to more shotgun. He might have to be the guy to go get some screens. So kind of interesting in that standpoint. We go to Team 9, Rashad Bateman. Team 8 taking a shot on Deshaun Watson in the 10th round. I do think it's interesting in a best ball league being that he's still not on the commissioner's exempt list. I have a hard time, even though Houston's, not letting him do anything, and he actually wasn't at the practice field today. I have a hard time believing he's not going to be on the playing field if he's not suspended this season. So that's an interesting pick there and a super flex lead to get some value. Team 7 goes Irv Smith, Chris, Tyler Boyd. What do you think about Tyler Boyd? He gets left out a lot in the Cincinnati wide receiver conversation.
He really does, and I think in the PPR league, he's going to, kind of have forgotten about man for that Cincinnati offense. He's a primary, threat for that offense in out of the slot. They do have the big play receivers and Jason Higgins on the outside, but I think that you kind of saw last year, this receiving game has kind of a setup, a hierarchy of who gets the ball where. And similar to the Rams, you saw certain routes run by certain guys. So I think that, this guy Tyler Boyd has a guy that gets that underneath, that quick route, that quick option route. So I think Joe Burrow kind of showed that since they had a high volume team last year passing, they're in a tough division. So I like this upside for him, and I'm excited that people kind of forgot about him.
Team 5 takes Justin Fields, their first quarterback in the 10th round in a super flex league. That's a little bit risky. We don't know exactly when Fields is going to take over. Team 4 follows that up with Matt Ryan. Then we get back to Rick, who takes A.J. Dillon, one of the top handcuffs of the year, in the 10th round.
Yeah, he's a handcuff, but I think he also has value on his own as well. I think that we're going to try to not overuse Jones, especially early on. And so it's going to be a little bit longer season. So I'm expecting A.J. Dillon to get in there. Obviously not doing what Jamal Williams is doing. I don't think he's a big pass catcher, but I think he'll see some goal line work. He's a load. So I wanted to bring him on the team. Then I rolled around and took Troutman. New Orleans doesn't have receivers. In fact, I think Ty Montgomery is going to be used in a receiver's role. So, and without Cook there, the job's Troutman's, and I think he's going to do a pretty decent job.
Yeah, Adam Troutman is my second best sleeper tight end this year. Love him quite a bit. Loved him even before the Michael Thomas thing all happened. Traequan Smith even got banged up a little bit today. Receivers just going downhill fast for the Saints, but Adam Troutman, nothing else. It's going to be the number one red zone target. I do think it's kind of interesting to see how the Packers use A.J. Dillon with Aaron, because Aaron Jones has been great in the red zone. So I have a hard time believing they're going to just completely take him out of that role. But A.J. Dillon is a monster, like you said. I wouldn't be surprised if he does get utilized quite a bit in the red zone. So I'm kind of with you. I think he will be a guy that you will be utilized as a flex even when Jones is there. But we know Jones, who gets banged up and he misses a couple games here and there, you're going to have big time there with A.J. Dillon raring to go. After Dillon went Robert Tonyan, Devin Singletary, Tony Pollard, one of my more favorite best ball guys, in case something would have happened to Zeke. I would take him a little bit later in the 11th round, though. Corey Davis, you follow up with Adam Troutman, then Hunter Henry comes off the board, Curtis Samuel for Team 5, and then we get to Chris, who takes Mike Williams with his 11th round pick.
Yeah, I think they talk about some forgotten players. I think Mike Williams is the guy that gets written off. And in a league like this, where you're just trying to have a couple big weeks and you have the upside, Mike Williams, when he's healthy, can be productive. He can have the big play. So I think for me, it's another option at receiver, a guy who can get you some touchdowns, some big play weeks. Not somebody necessarily going to have my lineup every week, but a guy that with this kind of best ball setup, I can hope that he just goes off a couple of times and I can win a week here or there for me.
Yeah, look, he's a big play receiver, and that's what we might get out of him. After that, Baker Mayfield, Henry Ruggs comes off the board, Mecole Hardman, big play guys across the board, and then we get Devontae Parker with Adam.
Yeah, Devontae Parker is someone who, a lot of people are down on this year, and I was starting to feel that way a little bit, I'll be honest. He's not someone who I'm a huge fan of just because, he doesn't create a lot of separation. But everything we've seen out of camp and even out of the offseason in general has been that Tua is making it a priority to be more aggressive, and the team is making it a priority to be more aggressive with him on offense. I think Parker is a big beneficiary from that. He's not someone that is obviously open all that often. He's not someone like, who's going to just go across the middle on a drag and be wide open for an easy catch that, he's someone you have to throw open. I think Tua is physically capable of that. I'm very high on Tua's abilities as a passer. It's just whether he was willing to pull the trigger. Everything I've seen is that he's going to be. And with that, I feel really confident about what Devontae Parker can do.
You're more confident than I am because I didn't see any chemistry between those two last year. I think it's going to be all Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle myself. After that, Team 11 sniped the crap out of me because I thought Michael Gallup was definitely going to fall to me there, and I was actually really excited about that, and then he didn't. So I take T.Y. Hilton. Carson Wentz is going to be out all year, and I've been big on when Wentz is on the field because he can actually throw the deep ball. I don't believe T.Y. Hilton is done. I believe he can be a big-time receiver or a big threat receiver, I should say, and have a few big games left in him. So I'm going to take him in my 11th round pick as my fourth receiver, a guy who I think will probably be in my lineup for a few weeks. And I take one of my other sleeper tight ends, Jonnu Smith. I can't believe he's a sleeper tight end. I thought for sure this is going to be a guy who a lot of people are going to be excited about over the summer with the contract that he signed, the fact that he's going to probably be the number one target pass catcher, period, for New England Patriots. And yet he's constantly going outside the top 12, which is a huge mistake. Love him for that. Love him for the touchdown possibility. Darnell Mooney follows up, and then we get back to Adam, who takes Marvin Jones from Jacksonville.
Yeah, these last two picks, the theme for me has been getting the bigger guys, getting the possession guys, getting the guys that are going to get the touchdowns on these teams. If these are the guys that in the red zone that I think their quarterbacks are going to look for. Guys like Shenault and Chark and Waddle and Fuller, they're going to be the explosive guys. They might get a couple more receptions. Parker and Jones, this is best ball. I'm looking for I just want to capitalize on the weeks where they get the teams are in the red zone a lot and the teams need an option in the red zone. The Jaguars are non-existent at tight end, so I have very little worry that really anyone else can be that red zone guy, kind of Chark, but whatever. And Shenault, I don't see that for him. Marvin Jones, I will take being the red zone guy on a team that has a, quite frankly, putrid defense.
After that goes Michael Pittman, who I thought you were going to go with, and then Kirk Cousins for Team 8. We get back to Team 7, Rondale Moore, and we get to Chris, who takes Nelson Aguilar with his pick.
Yeah, I expected Rondale Moore to fall to me, so I was disappointed that he didn't. But Nelson Aguilar was my consolation prize in a sense. Everything I'm hearing, I'm not a Nelson Aguilar fan for the most part. Having said that, everything I hear about him in this offseason has been nothing but positive. He's clearly the best receiver for the Patriots right now. He's clearly being utilized in the offense, no matter who the quarterback is. And he coming off a pretty good year last year. So, putting those factors together, somebody's going to catch the ball in New England. So I'm kind of excited. Hopefully he has some upside, has a couple big weeks here or there for me.
Yeah, he could be the number one wide receiver for the Patriots. I mean, that job's going to be up in the air. We'll see exactly what happens. He surprised people last year. Trey Lance comes off the board after that, then Kenneth Gainwell. Then we get to Rick. I love the low-value, high-ceiling stack there with Tua Tagovailoa and Will Fuller now in your lineup.
Yeah, I was kind of worried because with all the discussion about Tua's going to be able to get the ball, I was worried about he was going to go ahead and create the stack himself. Then later came back and took Kirk. Wanted Rondale Moore, but he was taken already, so wanted to create the stack with Murray as well.
And then Justin Tucker comes off the board. Now, I'm going to put this out there. The computer's stupid. There's a 22-round best ball mock draft. I don't know why kickers and defenses are suddenly coming off the board, but they are. Tucker, Harrison, Buckner, and then Evan Ingram, Baltimore Ravens. Then we get back to Rick, who was Christian Kirk. Rick, you sniped me. I wanted Christian Kirk in the next round here. Talk about him with your pick.
Yeah, again, looking for ways to differentiate because it is a large tournament, but also looking for ways to create stacks. And this way with Kyler Murray, I could have gone either with Kirk or AJ Green, hoping for some upside with Kirk. Although Hopkins was just raving on AJ Green, so may come back. If he comes back around to me, I may pick him up as well.
Hey, you go. Hey, you can't go again. It's best ball. You can't go wrong. Someone's going to do well, and you're going to have it in your back corner one way or another. I like Kirk a lot personally. I think AJ Green, I just don't see from last year what he really has left. But my big thing about Kirk is that they're going to give him the opportunity to play the slot. I think that's where he's always needed to be, and he's always been a guy who can stretch the seam from there. So I like that pick quite a bit. That's why I was looking at him myself. After that, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like him, he could be the number one pass catcher for the Lions as the wide receivers, potentially. Zach Ertz comes off the board, and then we get to Chris, who takes Gerald Everett, who could be a sneaky little sleeper there for Seattle.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure he's going to be the starter in Seattle, but I think from everything I'm hearing, he has a good chance to be. And that tight end from that position, he's definitely utilized in the red zone and maybe has some more upside than the other, getting some more volume this year. So I think that this is Seattle's been looking for a tight end for the last couple of years to kind of replace Jimmy Graham, and I think they stumbled onto somebody who's going to be one of their more effective weapons.
Can't disagree with that. And then after that, you had the Rams defense come off, Jason Sanders come off, and then Austin Hooper. We get back to Adam, who goes John Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not high on Ruggs, so for me, I think if John Brown's not the wide receiver 1 on the Raiders, and granted, whoever's the wide receiver 1 is really the wide receiver 2 because of Waller, but nonetheless, I think that Brown will end up being the quote-unquote wide receiver 1 for the Raiders when things are said and done. If not, it's just because of Ruggs' draft capital. John Brown is honestly, who knows, where he's at post-injury, but at least pre-injury last year, I would have taken him as a better deep threat than Ruggs, to be honest with you, because he can do other things. There's a threat of him doing things other than running a streak. Whereas Ruggs, that is all I can see him doing. I think John Brown's going to be the second best option on that receiving core. I tend to be higher on Carr than the average person. So I think that passing offense is not going to be great, but I think it's going to be okay. And so to have the second target on that team potentially, at this point in the draft, I'm okay with it.
We saw Nelson Aguilar be a high-end wide receiver 3. Somebody has to emerge, and we know how much Gruden loves his veteran wide receivers. So I like the line of thinking there as long as Brown's actually able to stay on the field. Younghoe Koo comes off for Team 11. I go Jamal Williams, who I like a lot because I think Jamal Williams is a guy who can be a flex play in PPR. I think there's going to be a 60-40 split between him and DeAndre Swift across the board in all capacity. Therefore, he's going to have some flex value. But if anything happens to Swift, who does have concussion issues, who is kind of a smaller guy, all of a sudden Jamal Williams is looking at a significant workload. I believe we saw last year when Aaron Jones went down, Williams be very, very valuable. And then I took Zach Wilson as my third quarterback. I always try to get 3 quarterbacks in super flex leagues. I like Zach Wilson for his rushing ability. I like the wide receivers the Jets have in place. More importantly, I like the offensive system and the offensive line they have in place. So Zach Wilson's one of my deeper sleeper quarterbacks, and I was happy to get him there. After that, the Washington defense comes off, and we get back to Adam, who takes, I believe, his second tight end, because I forgot you took Travis Kelce, but you take Jared Cook there in the 14th round.
Oh.
Yeah, he's someone I really like as a late round kind of sleeper tight end. He's historically been pretty solid the last couple of years, really since 2015. Had before Waller, he was a top 6 tight end in Oakland. Had a really good year in New Orleans before last year when Breeze was out for a while. Still got 7 touchdowns last year, 9 the year before. Big body at worst. I think he's going to be a pretty good red zone threat. And, at best, for being in his mid-30s, he's still a pretty solid athlete at the tight end position. I'm happy to have him at worst for Kelsey's bye weeks. And if he sneaks in a couple times, so be it.
Yeah, here's the other thing. He could sneak into flex position. There is a scenario, given Mike Williams' injury history, that he could wind up being the second or third pass catcher on the Chargers any given week and maybe one of the red zone guys. I like Jared Cook a lot as a deep sleeper there. After that,
given Keenan Allen's injury history too, really.
Yeah. After that, Cole Beasley comes off. Tampa Bay comes off. Rodrigo Blankenship comes off, who's actually oddly in a kicker battle with the Colts. And then, Chris, I heard you in the background go, oh, no. Guys, I'm guessing you made a mistake there with the Colts defense.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to pick the Colts defense. My phone decided to reload itself at that moment. I guess because the draft got on pause or something, and then all of a sudden I went from picking the tight end I was trying to pick to picking the Colts defense.
This is a good lesson moment, everybody. Make sure everything you have as far as your devices when you're drafting is up to date if you're not doing a slow draft, so you don't have technical issues like Chris just did in taking a defense way, way too early in a best ball league. Pittsburgh Steelers defense came off the board after that. Russell Gage. We get back to Rick, who goes J.D. McKissick. You think J.D.'s going to be able to rekindle what he did a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're just looking for possibilities. And, again, he's a good pass catcher. They'll obviously try to get Gibson involved in the passing game as well. But I think McKissick was one of the top, if not the top, running back in terms of receptions. So then again, turf toe, it could slow Gibson down. So it's worth a shot.
Yeah, look, we don't know. We have Antonio Gibson, who got a little bit banged up last year. He's expected to be the guy. But if something were to happen to him, J.D. McKissick, we know, especially for PPR purposes, can be a target monster, especially in a Scott Turner offense who likes to check the ball down quite a bit. We're in that part of the draft, and right now, we're just taking shots. After McKissick, Latavius Murray came off the board. I like that pick, actually, out of Team 2. San Francisco's defense. Philip Lindsay, that's an interesting one in best ball as well, because if there's one running back in the Houston room that I think could emerge at some point, it might be Philip Lindsay. Carson Wentz. And we get back to Rick here with Gabriel Davis with the 15th round pick.
Yeah, I was wanting to get into the Buffalo passing offense, and it was either Sanders or Davis. I went with the younger of the two. I think they're pretty much going to be pretty close in terms of yardage. So I think they'll rely on Sanders for more across the middle. I think Davis has a shot down the field. So I'd like to see him look for the upside that he might offer.
All right, real quickly, I want to make sure everybody realizes that we are doing the mock draft for the Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation Belly Up Charity Bowl. Again, all you got to do to sign up is bellyupfantasysports.com. Hit the Belly Up Bowl tab, and you'll be able to fill out all the information that we need to get to you so you can be a part of this big tournament league that we are mock drafting for right now to try to help you guys get an edge. I've already drafted. Rick drafted with me. He did an excellent job in his draft too. And we are trying to help you guys out in this while we build up and raise money for childhood cancer with the Alex Lemonade Stand Foundation. So it's for a great cause. So please check it out there at bellyupfantasysports.com and just hit the Belly Up Bowl tab once you get the opportunity to do so. All right. So now Chris, go ahead. Chris and Adam, you guys talk about your picks back to back because I'm up on the clock.
Yeah, I wanted Anthony Firkser, who I was trying to draft instead of the Colts defense. But I wanted to make sure that I had my last sleeper tight end kind of on the board. This is a guy that I think can still be kind of forgotten about. Tennessee will be more receiver oriented than they have been without, not having Arthur Smith be the head, offensive coordinator there. But I do think that they're going to continue to utilize tight end. We saw them be very effective for them in the red zone, particularly. And I think, addition by subtraction, with Juju Smith moving on to New England, Anthony Firkser should be the starting tight end for the Tennessee Titans this year.
Yeah, and I went Tevin Coleman. Michael Carter to me is going to be the guy, but we're talking a rookie fourth rounder. That's a pretty volatile position to be in, and Tevin Coleman to me seems to be the only obvious person to be on the benefiting side of that. He's not someone that's been great the past couple of years, but he does have familiarity with this kind of system. And, even on, worst case scenario, Michael Carter isn't someone who I think is going to, whether he can or cannot, doesn't really matter. I don't think that he's going to have the opportunity to really shoulder the load. He's someone who I think is going to get maybe 60% of the running back usage in that offense, and if I'm wrong on the low end for Michael Carter, then that I think Coleman's going to be the major beneficiary. If there's an injury, whatever, I like having a running back from that offense.
I like it. And then came up my back-to-back picks. Demarcus Robinson, love Demarcus Robinson. Everyone's talking about Mecole Hardman. They're all excited. They're all excited about the wrong guy because Demarcus Robinson is the guy who actually gets on the field when Sammy Watkins was off for the last 2 years. He's the one who plays more. I expect him to be the actual starting wide receiver. I'd rather shoot my shot with the other starting receiver on the Kansas City Chiefs, which I believe will be Demarcus Robinson. And then I followed up with Joshua Kelly. Also, there's some Chargers have already talked about this, even with Joe Lombardi. He comes from a system where they use 2 running backs anyway. Somebody's going to pair up with Austin Eckler. Somebody's going to be the goal line back. From what I understand, Larry Roundtree's not cutting it. It is going to be Joshua Kelly, most likely. He has come in shape, or at least they're able to give him another opportunity. So I'm just taking some touchdown upside there as we get into the 16th round. After that, Devontae Booker comes off. Then we get back to Adam, who actually took the guy I was contemplating with as far as whether I want to go Josh Kelly or Jameson Crowder, who he went with.
Yeah, and Crowder, I think, I would like to say I'm an early adopter of the Elijah Moore hype train this offseason.
You are.
For people that were on that hype train, it was a lot of, overlooking Crowder, like, he's going to pass Crowder. Crowder's going to be the odd man out, blah, 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 blah. But with the sudden real fall of Mims, it kind of leaves a possibility that both are kind of in play. I think Moore has to be in the slot, but I honestly think that Crowder could still be an intermediate possession receiver kind of guy. I'm sure that they'll both get moved around again. This is that LaFleur / McVay / Shanahan type of offense. They're all a little similar. They like to use that jet sweep to swing guys open a lot. There's going to be a lot of movement, and that means that I don't think, with the two, that there's going to be one true slot receiver. We've joked a ton of times on this show about the Rams having way too many slot receivers. So I think they're going to figure out a really good role for Crowder. I think they want to use Crowder. Otherwise, they wouldn't be eating his money. I think at this point of the draft, I'm willing to bet on Zach Wilson, the passer. Again, I've brought this up for other guys before with that putrid defense that the Jets have.
I like it. And then after that, Cleveland Browns comes off the board. Rashad Penny in the 16th round. I guess he might still have value if Chris Carson gets hurt, if he's actually healthy himself. Who knows? Kadarius Toney comes off. And then we get to Chris, who goes with Terrace Marshall.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge Terrace Marshall fan, but I also think that you have an opportunity for him, to be productive as the third receiver in Carolina. I'm not a Sam Darnold fan, but I also think that he tends to throw to the slot receivers historically. And Terrace Marshall, from everything I understand, is going to be playing that slot receiver for this offense. One of the receivers that's actually out there right now. Carolina's kind of had some, that injury bug kind of plagued the receivers like a lot of teams have. From everything I understand, Terrace Marshall's actually been heavily involved early on in camp, and it's somebody that they're looking to kind of utilize in his first year.
Yeah, I don't disagree because he is a guy who played with Joe Brady before. Joe Brady knows how to use him, and they've been hyping him up quite a bit throughout the training camp. I'm with you there. Next up, Paris Campbell goes off the board, Greg Zerlin, and then we get to Rick, who goes with Blake Jarwin, a guy who's kind of gotten forgotten about in the Dallas offense.
Yeah, he was hurt, but when he was with Dak at the start of the season and last year, I think he's going to be a big part of their offense, and again, trying to get a part of a big offense.
And then Javian Hawkins goes out, and that's a sleeper guy who's on my board as a potential pass catcher out of the Atlanta backfield. Daniel Jones for team 1, and then we have Darrington Evans. I don't think anybody besides Derrick Henry is going to be on the field still, but if something were to ever happen to Derrick Henry, who knows? Le'Veon Bell, pretty sure he's not on a team there, team 2. And then we get back to Rick going Jacoby Myers. I like the value there.
Yeah, he's the wide receiver 1. It's not a big offense, not a big passing offense. May perk up when Mac Jones gets to take over the position. But again, he's a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, he was a strong wide receiver too, without really scoring any touchdowns last year with Cam Newton when they didn't have everybody else to go to the ball to, especially in PPR. So I kind of like the value there quite a bit. Then after that, you get the New England Patriots, you get the Matt Prater, and then Chris, talk about your boy Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, I think that Pittsburgh has one of the better offenses. You look at the talent they have in place, adding Najee Harris in the backfield, those 3 receivers, or 4 receivers deep, adding another tight end to the mix. I think Ben Roethlisberger has a concept about Aaron Roethlisberger having a extra grind. I think Ben Roethlisberger has loved historically when he's been written off and basically told he's not any good. I think his arm's going to be more than it was last year. And people kind of forget Pittsburgh was 12-0, and that offense was doing pretty well. And Ben Roethlisberger, a big part of why that offense was doing well. So I think if he returns to form with the weapons he has in place, he has a lot of upside.
Yeah, career low in yards attempt. You have to expect that to go up at least a little bit unless his arm has completely fallen off. We'll see this season, but he has a lot of weapons there. After that, Derek Carr came off the board, James White, Tyler Bass, and then we get to Adam, who takes one of my guys I think consistently gets forgotten about, and that's Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, what excites me really about Sterling Shepard, I think he's going to get more opportunities to play out of the slot this season. With having a true one, he's kind of been forced into that role a lot over the pretty much since Odell left. Now that with Golladay no longer the case, I think he's going to be that 2 receiver in 2 wide receiver sets. But once we get 3 out, I think Shep's going to be, in the slot a lot more. And I think that really bodes well for him. I like him a lot this season, at least as a sleeper.
Yeah, I like the fact he gets back into his natural position and that Daniel Jones, at the end of the day, is a check down quarterback. So that's right in his territory. Sony Michel comes off the board. He could be interesting if he gets cut. There might be a destination he winds up at that maybe he gets some sleeper value here. Again, winning the 17th round of a best ball league. And then I got up when my back-to-back picks, decided to take 2 guys who should have some volume headed their way. Emmanuel Sanders signs a 1-year, $8 million deal. I believe he will get the opportunity early on to be the second pass catcher in that Buffalo Bills offense, a high-volume offense, so I'm taking a shot there. And then I'm not excited about this pick, but it is the 18th round, and I took Traequan Smith. Somebody has to catch balls at the wide receiver position for the Saints until Michael Thomas comes back. I'm not a fan of his, but again, 18th round, I'll take a guy who should have some opportunity at least. And then after that, Darrell Williams comes off the board. Mac Jones finally comes off the board with Adam here.
Yeah, I think he's going to pass Cam sooner or later. When that is just remains to be seen. I know.
If you had to take one guess, when would that be?
I think Cam's going to get a couple weeks just because of how much Belichick has historically loved his veterans and doesn't want to play rookies, but his hand's going to get forced, whether that's injuries or just putrid play or, whatever it is. I think at some point he has to put in Mac Jones. Mac Jones, from everything I've seen out of camp, seems to be better. I like Mac Jones a lot. He was my QB4 coming out. And I think that's even lower than both you and Chris. So I think we're all in agreement that Mac Jones is a good player. I think he's better for really all of the New England, pass catchers as well. For what it's worth, overall, I would pretty happy with him being my QB3. And if all he does is play bye weeks, I'm cool with that. If not, if more, love it.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see exactly when he takes over, if he in fact does get that opportunity. Giovanni Bernard comes off the board for week 9. I actually kind of like that value in a PPR league. Then Marlon Mack, Salvin Ahmed, and then we get to Chris, who for some stupid reason takes Brevin Jordan, who's never going to see the field this year. But go ahead.
Yes, we know you. We talked about our draft.
Protect your you, boy. Go ahead.
A big fan of Brevin Jordan. Unlike you, I do think that the Texans will have some completions this year, and they have to throw the ball to somebody other than Brandon Cooks, who you don't think is going to be any good anyway. But I think Nico Collins isn't that second receiver. I think the tight end is actually going to be that second guy. I think Brevin Jordan's got a clear pathway to playing time. I think it doesn't matter really who the quarterback is, whether it's going to be Mills throughout the season. It's Taylor. He's going to be a guy who's around this line of scrimmage. We saw David Scully coming from the Ravens system where they heavily use the tight end and Mark Andrews. I think this guy has kind of a similar role that he's asked to play for the Texans offense.
Yeah, it's not going to be the tight end position. Brevin Jordan's not even going to start, so I don't know where you're going with that, but we disagree. Go ahead. Anyway, we got to move on. Mark Ingram goes off the board, Jameis Winston, and then we get the Rick who goes Larry Roundtree taking my handcuff from Joshua Kelly.
Yeah, he's the only healthy running back on the Chargers, so I thought I'd give a shot with him.
Can't disagree with that line of thinking, especially this late in the draft. Elijah Mitchell comes off, another guy who's kind of a similar realm. Ramondre Stevenson, Pat Freiermuth, AJ Green, and then Xavier Jones. You're taking the handcuffs of Darrell Henderson. I like that value there.
Yeah, he's getting some good reviews already in camp, and so I'm thinking, Darrell Henderson hasn't really survived a whole season, so unless they go out and get a veteran running back to back up Henderson, then Xavier is probably going to be the first shot for them.
Yeah, I still believe they're going to bring somebody in, but as it stands right now, they have it. And yeah, not betting on Darrell Henderson to play 17 games, I think would be a smart thing to bet on. Brashad Perryman goes, then Tim Tebow. That's even, Chris, I'll give you a pass on the Brevin Jordan thing because Tim Tebow going is even dumber than Brevin Jordan. And then you got Miami Dolphins, who Chris takes there with his pick.
Yeah, I was looking to try to start adding to some defensive options.
And then Chris left because he had enough, apparently. He took my Brevin Jordan insult to heart and left us all behind. Hopefully he'll get himself back in soon. Sammy Watkins came off the board after that. Nico Collins, Van Jefferson, and then we get back to Adam, who took Kansas City.
Yeah, I think they're a defense that on the high end can get a lot of turnovers. Last season was a little bit of a down year in regards to them as a fantasy defense, but has been pretty good the 2 years before. They've got a couple solid players there on the back end, namely Tyrann Mathieu, some decent pass rush, and they're a team that's going to force shootouts, which normally isn't great for fantasy defenses, but what it does do is put opposing quarterbacks in a position where they feel like they need to make plays to keep up, and keeping up against a good secondary is a little tough. It'll force you into some bad decisions, and some bad decisions mean turnovers, and turnovers mean fantasy points.
Can't disagree with that line of thinking. After that, Bryan Edwards comes on. I finally take my first defense and kicker here in a 19th and 20th round. I think the Denver Broncos, a lot of people are sleeping on this defense, I believe. I think there's going to be a lot of sacks here. Von Miller's back healthy. Bradley Chubb's back healthy. Vic Fangio is an excellent head coach. They added to that secondary. People are going to watch out. This is going to be a Broncos defense of old. And then I take Robbie Gould because he's as reliable as they come on the 49ers. They kick a lot of field goals, not a lot in the red zone. So I go with Robbie Gould there too. Eric Ebron comes off, and then we're waiting for Adam to make his pick. We're waiting for Chris to find his way back to the studio, wherever rabbit hole he just fell through and left us all behind. We'll see exactly what happens there. As he's doing that, though, I'll talk about the Alex Lemonade Stand Foundation. This is what this mock draft is for. Again, we are trying to raise money to help fight against childhood cancer. All you got to do is go to bellyupfantasysports.com, hit the Belly Up Bowl, and then you will be able to sign up. We'll send you all the information. We'll be able to get in this big tournament that we are in. So everybody go ahead and check that out. I'm starting to worry because now Chris is on the clock and he's not picking, and I wonder if he's completely just shut down. No, he did pick. So he's somewhere. He's somewhere in the atmosphere. So after Adam made his pick, he took Ryan Suckup, Tampa Bay kicker.
Yeah. Just get a kicker on a good offense. It's really all I'm really thinking here. He was pretty solid last year after leaving Tennessee.
Hey, Chris made it. He's alive.
Hey, we had a power surge over here. That was fun.
Oh man. I thought you just took my Brevin Jordan insult to heart and said, you know what? I'm out. Screw you guys. I'm going home, like South Park. Chris, your pick while you were in the atmosphere there was Will Lutz. Usually one of my favorite kickers, but I don't know how I feel about the Saints offense right now.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand your concerns, but we do think Sean Payton's, very much been an innovator. They play in the dome. I think they're actually going to rely on kind of their defense and their kicking game to kind of win them games early on. We've seen this kind of MO before when Drew Brees has been injured. They had Michael Thomas out for a period of time last year. So I think this is going to kind of be a similar offense we've already seen before, where they try to play defense and grind the ball out, and you're going to see Will Lutz kind of be utilized as a weapon. Yeah,
the dome thing definitely helps out quite a bit. After that, Marquez Valdez-Scantling goes, O.J. Howard goes, and then Rick takes the Buffalo Bills defense.
Yeah, at this point, I was actually debating between them and New Orleans, and Buffalo, I think, is ranked a little bit higher, so I went with them. It's cold there in the winter, especially in December, January timeframe. So hoping that could add to some turnovers.
Yeah, I think their defense underachieved last year, and I think they're more talented than what they showed a year ago when they didn't have such a great year. Diami Brown comes off the board, Quintez Cephas, Hayden Hurst, Darius Slayton, and then you take your first kicker, Daniel Carlson from the Raiders.
Combination of inside and not the greatest offense, so hoping that gives them a chance for more long field goal attempts.
Yeah, lack of touchdown usually does lead to field goals, so I think you're okay there. Dwayne Eskridge comes off the board, Boston Scott. Then we get back to Chris, takes his second kicker because he wants to cover that bye week with Mason Crosby.
And then I want to make sure I have some upside there as well. So, yeah, I'm going with the guy that I've been pretty consistent week in, week out. Expect Green Bay's offense to continue to be pretty good. Don't love that the defense in most of that division, so I think that Green Bay should be scoring some points, and I hope that Crosby's the guy that benefits from that.
Look, and that's an interesting thing. That's debate in some of these best ball leagues that have defenses and kickers. Do you take 2 defenses and 2 kickers so that way you always have one, even if one's on the bye week? Or do you just take 2 extra players and say, you know what, whenever they're on their bye week, screw it. I'm more the mindset of I'm going to take 2 defenses, 2 kickers. Again, you get some upside. It's best ball. So whoever performs more, you get those points, and you make sure your bye week's covered. You don't want positions where you're getting 0 points when points can be had, I believe. Adam, I guess he believes that too because he took Seattle's defense as his second one to Kansas City. What do you think their outlook looks like?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to lie to you and say that they've got some superstar roster on defense. They've got a handful of solid players in Jamal Adams, Bobby Wagner, obviously, and a couple Seattle mainstays in Bruce Irvin and who am I thinking of? Well, regardless, they've got a couple Seattle mainstays.
That's it. That's all it is.
Jordy Brooks.
Yeah, that might. I don't know. Regardless, they've been a top 12 fantasy defense for a hot sec now since at least 2016, according to Sleeper. So I'll just take that consistency. I've got one defense that I'm thinking is going to be a more of an aggressive pick, and Seattle's consistently pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be any worse than last year. They played better towards the second half of the year. Damian Williams goes off the board. I take the Chargers defense. I want to thank all of you for letting my top sleeper defense fall to me here. Look, we know the drill with the Chargers. They can't stay healthy. But just in the off chance that they can, when you add Staley from the Rams last year, Derwin James should be healthy. They have Joey Bosa. They have a lot of talent on that defense. I like them a lot. If they can be on the field, especially in a best ball league, I'll take them there with Denver. And then I take Jason Myers. I just want a kicker in a high-volume offense who should have opportunities to score week in and week out. Mo Alley Cox comes off. I wish Mo Alley Cox would ever get his chance. I don't know he ever will. And now he had the Colts kind of influx in the offense in general. And then we have Adam taking forever to select, I guess, the second kicker. I don't know what's taking him so long.
I was trying to make sure that they were still on the roster because it's getting pretty deep because of the computer taking a lot of kickers early.
Takes Zeke Elliott, who I can confirm is still on the roster.
Yes.
What do you think about the Eagles offense?
I finally figured it out. KJ Wright, who was that other player I was thinking of.
Ah. What do you got to say about your Zeke Elliott pick while Chris is on the board?
Not much in that he's on the Philadelphia roster, which is something that is tough to say about a lot of the guys remaining. The kicker,
a lot of kicker battles
is looking very desolate, at least in regards to solidified starting kickers.
I was kind of surprised he didn't go Zane Gonzalez there, considering he had a pretty good fantasy year last year. With a high-scoring Arizona Cardinals offense. I don't believe, at least to my knowledge, he is in a kicker battle. Chris is trying to figure out which crappy defense to take a shot on.
Yeah, you guys kind of took away my board right here. Some guys I thought
there's always a situation, you know what? If you're like, hey, if I'm looking at a bottom 32 defense, maybe in that case, maybe you do go with a position player instead. It might be one of the situations you do it and say, you know what, it is worth the bye week because having a bottom tier 32 defense, you could get negative points. It might not help you out at all. So that's something to kind of think about when you get into these best ball leagues. While Chris is still figuring it out, or do you have it figured out? All right, go ahead. He took my advice there and goes Cam Newton, which I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, I mean, even if I only get a couple of weeks out of camp, I do think Matt Jones eventually gets this job. I don't know if it'll be this year or at some point this year, but everything we're hearing that Cam Newton will be a starter for New England, he'll have every opportunity to be that guy. I think this team kind of showed you in the offseason they retooled to be a very much physical team. They added 2 tight ends. They added Brown to the tackle position. They're going to be big. They're going to be strong, and we know Cam Newton likes to run the ball. If he has any but of an arm, he should be pretty decently effective and at least have a floor and have some upside where, like we talked about in this league, you want to have guys who you can kind of throw out there and make win you a week here or there.
All right. It might have been me, actually. I might have been freezing there. I'm not sure. Rick, he gets the Saints defense, somebody you talked about possibly taking 2 rounds ago, so I guess you're pretty happy about that.
Yeah, although, this is where I wasn't counting the number of rounds left, and so, I come up with only 1 kicker. And I agree with you. I think, you'd rather not take that 0 if you can avoid it.
Yeah, one of those things just always keep in mind of, but again, with it being kicker, not the end of the world. So that wraps up the draft. What we're going to do, Rick, I want you to grade all of us in your mind, because that's what we're going to go with. So grade the 4 of us while you're doing that and looking through our lineups and getting together your thoughts on what you think. Guys, one last time, Alex Lemonade Stand Foundation. It's a great cause. We're trying to raise money for childhood cancer. All you got to do is sign up, bellyupfantasysports.com, hit the Belly Up Bowl tab, sign up the form. We'll get all the information out to you guys. It's really a great tournament, great group of guys. We're all having a lot of fun, a lot of fantasy experts, so you get to compete against some of the best in the industry, not just from Belly Up, but from a lot of different networks have joined as well. There are several spots still open. We're going to be holding drafts all throughout August. We're going to keep it open. So you guys make sure you join. Again, bellyupfantasysports.com and just sign up at the Belly Up Bowl tab. Really a great cause here for the Alex Lemonade Stand Foundation. So, Rick, are you ready?
Yeah, of course. Of course, I give myself an A.
I would be mad at you if you didn't.
2 powerful quarterbacks starting off. I survived the taking running backs later. And I have one of the top 2 tight ends. I really like your team at the end. I think that I might have gone with Josh Allen to make the Diggs stack, but of course, L. Jackson's going to get a lot of yards on the ground, and they're saying that his passing is actually improving this year. So I think that we'll see a little bit better balance in their offense. Love Scary Terry. Love Chris Carson. So if anyone has won this draft, I think it's Team 12 who
Thank you, sir.
Pulled that off. But again, it's kind of hard with all the auto picks coming through since there were some odd selections based on formatting and stuff like that. But all in all, I mean, I'd be happy taking any of these teams into battle. So I think we're all good.
You heard it from Rick. I win. Chris, Adam, you guys suck. And that's going to do it for us. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Adam, what are we talking about in 2 weeks?
Yeah, we're going to do a regular redraft, one of these mock drafts. So we'll hope that Sleeper's automated picks can be a little bit more accurate so we can give you guys a really good understanding of some strategies to win your redraft leagues.
Maybe we'll find a different solver, because this is the second mock draft we've done with Sleeper where we've gotten some weird selections based on format. Chris, you and I are going to be on twice this week. We're on Thursday from 11 a.m. 12:30 p.m. on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network and at Belly Up MDFF Show. Of course, we'll be available to you guys on your favorite pod streaming apps as well: iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeart, wherever. We are pretty much everywhere at this point. We got the standard mock draft this Thursday that we're going to do. And then we also have our best 5, bus 5, sleeper 5 quarterbacks. That'll be kicking off our series. That'll pretty much our episodes of Friday. We'll do the quarterbacks, next week the running backs, following week the wide receivers, then the tight ends. We're going to skip the defenses and the kickers. But we got the quarterbacks this week on Friday. Anything that people should be looking forward to these 2 shows coming up?
Yeah, I think that breaking down the quarterbacks while people kind of forget about them as we see in a league like this, they can be very important. So we wanted to kind of share with you guys that we think have some high upside, some guys that we're kind of a little worried about, and some guys that we think that, you might kind of want to keep your eyes on because they're going to be the top 5 quarterbacks this year going into the season.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys, everybody, make sure you're following us at Belly Up Fantasy, where you have constant content coming out. It's going to be ramping up even more so now we're getting closer to the season. Again, we'll be on in 2 weeks, so everybody check us out again, 8:30 at Belly Up Fantasy to catch that show. We'll see you guys all real soon, and everybody have a wonderful evening.